If you've ever questioned the world's deadliest bomb is, or if it has even been created in this instance, then respond that you have been. Despite possessing billions of armed forces at its disposal, the United States Air Force remains unrelenting as always in the hunt for deadly weapons that would give others a childlike appearance. Play the U.S., which is recognized as being at the leading edge of technology progress and has demonstrated its standing in the era of cutting-edge technology, more and repeatedly already placed aside billions of dollars to construct a structure actually amazing Dragon bomb. What makes the deadliest bomb ever made? This one has this quick bomb ever been utilized in a join us as we discuss war in more detail. The most lethal quick Dragon bomb that the U.S. Air Force is conducting tests. The most lethal bomb ever created and the swiftest one is the one that the Dragon bomb being tested is the palletized and fast Dragon, the module on disposable weapons that airs drop to use aerial weaponry, usually cruise missiles fired by unaltered cargo aircraft, created in 2020 and 2021 by a group of industry and Air Force personnel. Knowledgeable Lockheed Martin Swift Dragon is a system with all of its capabilities loaded into a throwaway pallet, which entails a typical military cargo aircraft can be converted into a strategic bomber standoff whenever necessary, then returned to its typical transportation duties of the airdrop rig pallets, which is sometimes called deployment boxes, offer an affordable technique that permits unaltered cargo aircraft, like the C-130 or C-17, temporarily converted to a standoff bombers with the capacity for mass releasing any variation, whether short or long AGM-158, JSM cruise missiles with a range in opposition to land or naval. These deployment boxes can be placed in varying sizes accommodating between 4 and 45. These JMER cruise missiles, AGM-158 bits missiles, have a range of 570 to 1,200 meters away. Using accuracy in 2024, the number of JMER missiles will increase, using an even longer range. The project known as the Dragon bomb, following the historical Chinese weapon known as G. For how long this weapon can be used, fire a lot of crossbow missiles at a distance simultaneously while maintaining a safe distance. Current fast Dragon system seeks to defeat an opponent's defenses from at a secure distance from the launch, although they are not in danger. Aircraft swiftly employed with current fleets of transport aircraft that enable notable rises in mass attacks. Low-cost missions and training in this bomb would make it possible for America to deliver a tactical hit fast ability to its foreign military partners who are already competent airdropping supplies from cargo aircraft. Additionally, increases the areas where aircraft having the ability to launch cruise missiles from making an enemy's task more difficult to underscore the strike aircraft of the operator fleet by demolishing their established Stratfortress B-52. Surrounded by airbases needs a C-130 and a 10,000-foot concrete runway, can function from sections up to 3,000 feet less advanced surfaces, along with enhancing the U.S. Air Force abilities when aiming at a rival. The quick Dragon concept will enable additional air forces lacking in strategic bombers, but also using transport planes to initiate a big number of JM concurrently. A C-130 aircraft, for example, can utilize the Swift Dragon to shoot roughly 12 GASTS cruise missiles at a secure separation of between 620 and 1,180 miles from the aim. This is achievable with the assistance of a pair of Swift Dragon pallets. The bigger C-17 is sufficiently big to hold 5 quick Dragon pallets, each containing 9 missiles to be used in a mission totaling 45 missiles, with a 1,100-pound payload. Test firing of warheads over the Gulf of on December 16, 2021, in Mexico. An armed Swiftly Dragon obtained the target data while in flight from a remote command center. The data it obtained was utilized to target its JM. Armed, was airdropped from the aircraft and effectively released its payloads that are struck by the live missile, its naval objective. The remaining 3 bays of the pallet in 4 packs contain ballast. Rounds with the same weight and form to examine how the system prevents missile launches from opposing these ballast. Without weapons, rounds will remain employed in order to missions with lower missile requirements than the module's maximum capacity, guaranteeing steady drops. The cargo fighter during the test, an Air Force pilot flew the AMC-130J Operational Special Operations Command. Both the flight crew and the aircraft carrying more than 4-pack variation of the the airdrop cruise Dragon missile module acted as a regular supply and carried the load drop under the Swift Dragon's command unit, independently obtaining instructions and programming control data for the GIMs, focusing on information from prior encounters. We be aware that even the most recent air defense systems find it difficult to defend against numerous of cruise missiles arriving simultaneously. This occurred in the Ryad missile of 2018 Yemeni strikes and the 2018 missile strikes in Syria, due to advanced aviation S-300 and its S-400 defense systems are examples of not very effective at halting a lot of cruise missiles that fly low and quickly. Dragon appears to be a wise decision for missions where a great deal of JASSM missiles are employed. It is compatible with a wide range of tiny fictitious drones launched from another module to subdue and dominate the enemy's aircraft protections. The U.S. Air Force intends to maintain rapid Dragon testing using C-17's AGM-158C. The AGM-158 DJSM ATEX-R, which has a 1,200 m range and became accessible in tiny amounts in the Strategic Air Force of 2021 Planning and Experimenting for Development Group, is investigating the use of Boeing's shorter but less costly range 50-meter range jam error bombs and is working together with Raytheon to aid in the quick Dragon launch of ADM-160 male decoys. The first live in November 2022 display of a cooperative air-to-surface. There was a missile standoff in Europe during the Andøya space test with an MC-130J range in Norway, backed by military partners from Norway, Romania, Poland, and Britain. In the military of DEADLIEST 2022 workouts, that the system has been successful in cargo planes C-130 and C-17 colliding with both targets on land and at sea using armed and future test iterations of JAM-ERs. They intend to make the system larger to encompass not only AGM-158. They wish to employ JDAM bombs as missiles, drones, missiles, and sea mines. They also want to make the launch of the system operates on various supporting more than just cargo and aircraft planes that are used in the current version, unaltered cargo planes, while no additional crew is needed for deployment. Abilities exceeding those for airdrops of vehicles or supplies. The system can be perceived as a clever but disposable bomb bay in a package with an interface that permits targeting data that is acquired from units of the Allies in the munitions target area from a remote firefighting center. During the November 2022 NATO air exercise, DEADLIEST 224 is held annually. The new Rapid Dragon missile close to Norway system, created by the well-known American Lockheed Martin, was a newly established company. Pallet was placed inside a conventional military Hercules MC-100 and 30J airplanes traveling through ports. Workout with roller guides in place. Pallet Swift Dragon was forced to the aircraft's open in-flight cargo hatch aircraft, followed by the parachute of the pallet dragged it past the primary pallet hung as the parachute opened, so that the missiles were launched from the sling standing up straight before they collapsed one by one under the cover of the gravity's pull. And then they materialized. Their engines were started by their wings and raced to meet their program's objectives at 575.5. An hour later, the notion of starting a cruise missiles fired from a moving vehicle, or even in the 1970s, passenger planes were nothing new. The U.S. Air Force was extremely thinking about the concept of a missile transporting airplanes built on the Boeing Cruise Missile Carrier 747-200 aircraft, or KIMCA for short, was to transport 50 to 100 AGM 86 centimeters altitude launch cruise missiles fixed on a drum launchers within the such missile squadron's fuselage. Carriers were expected to continuously patrol the airspace boundaries of the USSR in preparedness For a massive strike, the primary defense of the cost of the CMC project was a missile carrier modeled after the most well-known. The airliner would have only cost a few cents to construct and run. The CMC project was not put into practice because of Pentagon generals who were well received, originating from the military-industrial complex, feared that Congress would fail if it would provide money to the promising B-1B supersonic bomber. However, the notion was still well-liked in Iraq. In 1991, the Americans made use of military vehicles aircraft, acting as makeshift bombers, dropping bomb pellets in the Afghan military utilizing transports. Super heavy anti-bunker bombs, GBU-43 bits MOV, and ultimately, the Quick. By the way, the project is due to its name to a weapon made in China thousands of years back, a layout that let you fire a number of crossbow bolts. Concurrently, the Rapid Dragon is incredibly simplistic. It is a fairly typical mode of transportation. Pallet that can even be used with a forklift composed of pinion rocket and wood rack rails are attached to it. Based on the pallet must be able to hold 6 or, should fewer be dropped, up to 9 weapons. Ballast is inserted into the unoccupied cells. Round pallets up to 2 and 6 can be loaded into the C-130 Hercules hold, and larger C-17 Globemaster is capable of carrying up to 5 round pallets, or 45 rocks. That the pallets are filled with the military transport aircraft in its grasp, as if they were a typical load in flight, released via an open tail hatch, using a tiny parachute for extraction. The pallet is pulled by the extraction parachute overboard using roller guides following, whereby the primary parachute releases the pallet. Stabilizers are suspended from slings, and then starts firing missiles one by one. Currently, 1 Rapid Dragon is in operation. AGM-85 JME cruise missiles allow for this. The subterranean stealth cruise missile, intended to provide tactical aircraft combatants, bombers, and attack planes the capacity to strike shielded targets. From the original version was safe distance, furnished with a 1,000 pounds SS extremely powerful and piercing warheads, traveled 230 miles. The ER model has a bigger gasoline tank, and this function on auto expands the range of flight from 230 mi. The missile is guided to 575 mi by an GPS and inertial guidance systems guidance. It is additionally led by an target identification system, using infrared throughout the exercise that was carried out. Missile targeting was carried out in Norway, from outside the aircraft line on the EI ground of sight, via a satellite connection. This performance illustrated that the capacity to direct and target the missile, even in the presence of the fighter jet motion, following thorough evaluation of the United States, has chosen to utilize a short-range, long-range AGM-A1-158 JJMER. The missile is a cruise missile, updated JMER version, which has a new wing design and is capable of will be roughly 1,200 mi. The tiny little this missile's large-scale production began by the end of 2021, and full-scale manufacturing 5 missiles a month at this rate is anticipated by the conclusion of the AMG 158's second iteration. 2024 is a short-range, anti-ship cruise missile. It is the JSM family's second variation. That is intended especially to locate and engage in lengthy open sea combat with ships. Anti-ship missiles with range can reach up to passive mode, is used up to 350 mi. Radar, infrared sensors, and matrix cameras find the target using a detector and can synchronize with additional missiles in a salvo, the third choice offered by the U.S. The Air Force is thinking about the JDAM-ER, guided gliding bombs, which stand for a folding wing rudder plane hinge set and operate on autopilot using GPS. Jammer kits are installed on typical unguided drone strikes, providing the capacity to can reach up to 80 targets with accuracy. Based on the decline altitude jam's integration on the especially interesting is the Rapid Dragon, because these weapons are very inexpensive and offer the capacity to target scattered by a precise carpet bomb, such as troop concentrations from that's the safe distance that the Russians are currently engaged in. but they only use one bomb a moment, and in the event of the Quick Dragon, an entire cluster of bombs would drop. The fourth option on the adversary is to use the ER-guided quick strike feature. Mine planes. These are Jamar-type mines, bombs, which are traditional high-explosive devices with premeditation and instruction manuals, in addition to furnished with a digital quick strike unconducting detonator that permits them to be utilized as underwater mines. Fired from these gliding mines can reach aircraft. The area where the minefield is deployed by themselves and land in allocated positions that enable them to mine the opposing waterways from a distance of air. Lastly, a fifth defense option is the male autonomous ADM-160 deceives. These miniature replicas drones are intended to deceive enemy aircraft defenses and have the ability to precisely emulating the radar signals of an assortment of F-35 stealth aircraft, from the B-52 strategic bomber to the fighter. The most recent MALJ models also have systems for electronic jamming that can be used from a safe distance to jam radar. Utilizing this Quick Dragon bomb, each and every large military transport aircraft is comparable to a strategic rocket bomber. The most obvious conclusion is that the U.S. recently expanded its fleet of missile carriers and bombers from 116 units, the 58 bits, 52 hours, and 58 B1, B to 786 are these. Units, such as C-17 and C-130, would be reasonably priced, perhaps a few $1 million as opposed to tens of billions. And that is only using the A concrete runway is necessary for B-52 bombers. The C-130's length is at least 3,000 meters. Aircrafts with heavy cargo can take off from a 910 m dirt track that is in control precisely what and where compels the U.S. air once the force is deployed. It almost unfeasible. This system serves as a NATO opportunity, or just friendly nations without their strategic aviation will purchase one for missiles, such as the JM and JMER, are now in service in Finland, Poland, and Australia. Australia possesses C-130 heavy, C-17, C-27, and 30 transport aircraft with the capacity to. Poland's Swift Dragon has 5 Hercules through the outfitting of their Swift Dragon. Trays in these nations acquire the capacity to launch large hits while cruising in poor visibility, bombs more than 2,500 meters away. This dramatically increases their potential, adjusting the power dynamics in the area. An additional explosive known as the deadliest, excluding the Swift Dragon, is the King of Tsar Bomba, also referred to as bombs, a massive nuclear bomb from the Soviet Union that was tested above the island of Novaya in October 30 in the Arctic Ocean. 1961 is the year that holds the record as the largest nuclear weapon to explode in history, constructing the strongest the largest known explosion during the Cold War era involving the USSR and the US. A collection of Soviet physicists, such as Andrei Sakharov, constructed this 3-phase explosive to show Soviet power. Was initially intended to possess a capacity of 100 megatons. It was deemed too dangerous to test because of the hazardous fallout. So it was modified to produce a yield of 50 megatons, which remained projected to be roughly stronger than the US bomb by 3,800 times. Descended upon Hiroshima amid the World War II. The scientists from the Soviet Union also altered the process of fusion to lessen fallout. Most notably, the Tar Bomba that followed measured approximately and weighed 27 tons, 26 feet long and around 7 feet in diameter. Despite being officially known as RD's 220, acquired a number of monikers, with Tsar Bomba as the most well-known in the West. A 295 Tsar Bomba was substituted for V-Bomber. A unique parachute on the bomb helped to slow taking it out so the aircraft could depart from the blast. The plane was piloted safely by Andreyev. Departing from the Kola Peninsula on 30 October 1961 saw the addition of an observer plane. Over the Mica, the SAR Bombo was dropped. Test site for Bay on the deserted island of around 11 o'clock a.m. in Novaya Zemlya, Moscow, when it burst roughly 2.5 miles above the Earth, producing a thicker mushroom cloud. The flash of the more than 37-mile high explosion was observed from 620 miles away. There was significant harm done to the village of 34 miles away from the blast, was destroyed, and over 100 buildings. There were reports of damage miles away. An additional bomb that fits precisely into the B-61 nuclear bomb is this class. The primary nuclear gravity bomb thermonuclear in the U.S. has been in a stockpile since the winter. The end of a war is a tactical and strategic nuclear bomb featuring a dual stage. The bomb's radiation implosion design has a variable yield, indicating that it may modify from 0.3 to 3.0 to 3.0 kilograms in various iterations, that it is created with different methods for fusing and delivering, appropriate for ground and air bursts. Free drop to the ground freely and lay down approximately 700 pounds was delivered. It's 11 f 8-inch long with a sleek exterior when flying supersonic. The bomb is currently in the midst of its 12th change, and starting in 2020, every B-61 spent $28. The bomb has flexibility and can be used to adapted to varying power levels, referred to as dial yield. It provides for both tactical and strategic objectives, and is intended to be transported quickly. Airplanes with a sleek appearance. For the original supersonic flight, B-610 weighed 715 and measured 141.5 in length. Later iterations remaining consistent with weight and size, with the exception of the Mod 11. That amounts to roughly 1,200 pounds. To equip the ground-based bomb, employees utilize a dial-equipped access panel, sockets for the command, and a T-handle disable function. This process is involved turning a dial and entering a code in numbers, and deactivating it by pulling a T-shaped handle. The bomb rendering the B-61 unusable, programmable for ground or air detonation, and it can be discarded either way. Parachute for a range of methods of delivery, can be discharged quickly and slowly. Heights. The Mod 11 is an advanced version intended to enter the ground prior to exploding, in particular efficient, in opposition to fortified. Around 50 Mod 11 bombs have been built. Produced, with service beginning in 1997, mostly employed by the B-2 Spirit. Thank you for watching, aircraft. Remain here. Please select the link on your display to view one more of our videos. Observe you there.